Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have my good friend Clint Borman with me here today. Clint is an experienced healthcare operations executive, doctor of physical therapy, and entrepreneur with over 25 years in the industry, starting with a single clinic to leading a 39-unit enterprise and most recently launching a new venture blending sports medicine, wellness, and innovative biohacking modalities at Oxygen Wellness and Physical Therapy. Welcome to the show, Clint.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
All right. You actually have a lot of background. That's a very short, truncated version of it, but I'm a big fan. We've been friends for a while now, and you've helped me a couple times, and I very much appreciate it, and I'm very excited to have you here on the show. Do you want to give us a quick background about how you got into the space, just real quick, and then we'll talk about more about Oxygen Wellness and what you're able to do there now?
Absolutely. So I started as a collegiate athlete. I went to San Diego State, played baseball back in the 90s. After that, I was in some personal training. I went back to school and went to physical therapy school in the late 1990s, got out and did some outpatient sports medicine practice up in Portland, Oregon, kind of learned the lay of the land and how to work it out there. Moved back to Phoenix with my wife, who's also a professional. We were kind of juggling between residencies and postdocs. And so I landed in Phoenix, ended up purchasing a small clinic in Chandler, Arizona. Grew that practice from one provider to two or three providers, and then got linked into some larger practices and then larger practices. Finally ended up with Foothill Sports Medicine for 18 years, where I started with one practice as a small group partner. And then it was a franchise model. So as people grow within you and you mentor them, and then there's an opportunity for them to grow, then you become a partner, not quite a silent partner, but a business partner with them. And so I opened up 9 of those clinics, eventually matriculated up to a chief clinical officer. In our world, it was kind of operational and clinical as well. So I served in that role for about 7 years on the executive team. And then we exited that position as a group back in 2021. Okay. And from that point, I was kind of looking for maybe the next venture. Sure. You know, private equity capitalization and exit is always challenging, and we went through our challenges, and I chose to leave at the end of last year. Okay. So in December of last year, I left that group and opened up my own practice now called Oxygen Wellness and Physical Therapy.
Okay.
And here we are 6 months later.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And I'm excited to talk about that, but I still want to dwell on the Foothills growth, because I'm sure you learned a lot there.
Absolutely. So when I went in, I had 5 or 6 years of experience. I had some letters behind my name. And so there was some experience and some pseudo expertise knowledge. So when I joined this group practice, it was really about the ability to own a practice or to be part of a practice in a peer group where you could kind of learn from a group practice of other people that are a little ahead in the game and maybe a little behind the game and in the same game that you are. And so you're joining this group of brothers and sisters that all have a similar passion, which is physical therapy, outpatient sports medicine, but also learning the business background of that space. And so I got fairly good at that. After a couple of years, I got the opportunity to open up my first kind of a branch out of my own space with a young therapist that was hungry like I was. And we became business partners in their model. And then I just kind of learned that model and did that repeatedly about 9 different times. And then that kind of led us to the executive team, where it was not self-appointed, but it was a pseudo election from some of the senior therapists. And at that time, our infrastructure had not really grown yet. And so we were growing infrastructure on how to lead 20 and 25 and 30 different clinics. And you have to scale at that point, and either you scale or you die in this role. And so I assumed that role, and that was really when we learned the business side of PT as that chief clinical, chief operations, merger acquisition, and program development, and launching different things, and it's changing EMRs. And so that's kind of where the executive level came in.
Okay. And did you enjoy that aspect to it? Was it something new once you sort of, I don't know if you ever master, healthcare, but
Right.
Was it a welcome change to focus more on operations?
Absolutely. As a clinician, I was fairly seasoned and had a lot of great experience. And the business has always driven us. As a business owner, it's always, I guess, taboo sometimes to say to chase that success, where success equals a ladder, and a ladder can mean different things. It can mean money, it can mean status, it can mean title. But in our role, it was really about legacy for me. And so every time I kind of jumped off the ladder and moved to the side, it allowed somebody else to come up and fulfill that
Right.
role. And it allowed me to grow even more. And so at one point, I thought I would be some, chief executive officer or president of a something. And when you find your space in that role, you really find what your strengths and weaknesses are. And I got placed into a clinical role. And so that was allowing us to develop a residency. So you have the business aspect of how to make better super clinicians. So for me, it was a perfect blend. I thrived and I loved it.
Okay, let's circle back real quick to the clinical aspects, because you started from an athletic background. And so
Yeah.
imagine you did a lot of sports stuff, maybe in Chandler in your first practice and then growing and stuff. But I know you from, like, you had one of your practices was in Sun City and you have a different patient population. So can you talk a little bit about your range of what you've learned over the time and what you can bring to the new practice?
Absolutely. So, general outpatient private practices, demographics are literally from age 6 to age 96. And you could be teaching a toe walker how to walk after an Achilles tendon rupture, to training a 15-year-old on a post ACL, post meniscus, and getting them back on the field or the court. And then you're dealing with a 70 or an 80-year-old that's got dementia or a fall risk or peripheral neuropathy or a total joint replacement. So that's really kind of the crux of outpatient sports medicine practice, is that population. In Sun City, we were in Surprise, and the business side of it says, let's pick a zip code that has a younger population that's going to grow with the practice. They'll age eventually, but you really get to grow with the practice and grow with the aging population. And so when you're in there and you get tuned in with a 10-year-old that has 35-year-old parents who have 65-year-old grandparents, and you fulfill the role of being a destination point, not just a PT clinic, not just a healthcare space, but a destination point for knowledge and for education and for trust and for loyalty. And then you have 3 generations of people. So yes, you treat older, yes, you treat younger, but my goal, it was to treat the entire realm and to kind of own that space in the West Valley. I didn't care how old you were, what sports you did, or what was involved with you. I felt we could really help you.
Okay. And anecdotally, a testimonial here is, I've always been thoroughly impressed with the amount of time available when you go into it, right? When I go see one, I have some very good doctors I get to go to, but it's 5 minutes with a nurse, and then they come in, and I feel like I got 10 minutes with them was a bonus, right? That I got a whole 10 minutes with them, whereas I can get like a half hour, an hour, right? With you, I've had some very good experiences with Foothills and with you. Very detailed. I can ask questions. I'm analytical. I ask a lot of questions, and
You do.
and you have incredible answers and very insightful and very actionable stuff. Which, do this, don't do that, and I'm like, oh, but it's still. I was rolling on it and stretching it out, and you're like, yeah, that's good for some things, but bad for what you have, and things like that was very helpful. So. That level of care is just, I think, incredibly valuable nowadays, and one of the big things that's lacking in healthcare in general right now. And so let's talk a little bit about that and what you're doing in your new space, how you're bringing that level of care to healthcare.
Right.
in the new model, anyway.
Yeah, so I'll backtrack briefly and give a 30-second spiel to the gratitude that we have for working in a corporate setting and in traditional healthcare.
Okay.
Right now, I am working in a 3 to 5% of what most people would want to work in a cash pay concierge one-on-one care. But for 25 years, we all kind of grow our wings and we learn how to run, and we learn the practice of healthcare by being quick and being committed to your diagnosis and learning how to do special testing as quick as possible to get to the result that you need to, because you don't have time. So when you're in a traditional practice, you have to be good, you have to be fast, and you have to be correct. You've got to be accurate. So that really teaches you how to do that. So no disconnect with that previous space. It taught a lot, It teaches you how to be, as to the point, as fast as possible, as quick as possible, and correct, most importantly.
Right. Right.
But when we all get into PT, here's your story. So you go to PT school and you get a 3-hour lab, and it's your second or third year PT school, and they give you a knee patient. They give you 1 hour to examine the patient. They give you 1 hour to treat the patient, and then they give you 1 hour to document for the patient.
So just like the real world.
Yeah, right. Just like the real world. So you get 2.5 patients a day. And then you have a capitated plan that gives you $50 a session. And so you made $120 that day, and you worked for 8 hours, and you have to run a practice and a business that way. And that's where the crux of it comes. That's where the dichotomy of healthcare comes. So you get out into a real practice. And to be honest, in the 90s and the early 2000s, you would see 20 people, 25 people a day. You would see 80, 90 people a week as a therapist. And as you get good with that, there's a limit and a point where you there's a number that you can see effectively and efficiently. And over the last couple of years, it started to change a bit. And so that's when my mindset went back to what is actually best for the patient? What's best for the client walking in the door, regardless of what insurance says, regardless of what the last person says. When you have time to sit down with a person, listen to their goals, listen to their story, where they want to be, what step of the progress they're in, and then help interject your knowledge, but really understand the whole circle of healthcare. And I think the greatest advantage of having time with someone is it takes time to tease out the information, because they're guarded. They know they have 2 minutes, so they give you the 2-minute spiel, but we need the 20-minute spiel to really make a difference. So that's the blessing of being in this new space, is we've given ourselves time to do that and really refocus it on the client, the patient, and everything and anything in the whole circle that's involved. I can talk to a doc, I can talk to a naturopath, I can talk to a psych nurse, I can talk to a nutritionist, and I have time to do it all now. And the one person that benefits is not me, and not the provider, and not the insurance group, the client and the patient. That's who benefits from this specific or scope.
For sure. That's value and a half. That's
right.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the model that you're working under now, and if it's cash pay, and how, and you do take some insurance and that stuff as well, and how that affects your ability to function in that model that you want to provide the best care. We joked last time I saw you. I thought, what was the slogan I liked?
Well, I would love to do this for you right now, but I need to check and see if your insurance paid for it or not.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I know the best treatment for you, but I don't know if your insurance covers it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about how that's impacted the designs for the future, and how you want to grow the company, and how you can provide that great value even with the restrictions that are often imposed on care?
Sure. So it is a cash pay model. It's a concierge model, one-on-one care. We currently are not taking insurance. There's some one-offs, but once you jump into the insurance game, you have to be considered a provider of. And so that allows you to be on panels and to get credentialed for certain insurances. And I just didn't want to go down that path. I wanted to really commit to this model for the first year. So that's what we're doing. I think the benefit and the value of the business for the last 20 to 25 years is really what allows you to go all in on this game. So you got to bank the fact that you better be good at what you do, because you don't have a buddy to pawn it off to. You don't have a senior person to ask questions to. So in this particular model, you really need to be out 5 to 10 years. You have to have seen everything a couple of times. It would be really challenging for a new grad to do this. And I understand that. So then you're overlaying the business model. So I'm the chief marketing officer, I'm the chief operations, I'm the chief clinical, I'm the chief of everything, which is terrible, because you can't be, that one guy. So you have to learn to build your model. You have to scale it out. I have so many diagrams. I just unfortunately inundated my office manager today with my bubble graph of how my mind works. And there's probably only 2 people in the world that would understand the bubble graph, and Tim is one of those. And thank goodness my office manager is learning and all of the different aspects of the business that go into this. And so if you look, there was a great study out about 7 or 8 years ago, and they talked about touch points of patients when they went into a patient interaction with a doctor, or a therapist, a nurse. And the first couple, was the door handle hot? Did you have parking? Were the windows clean? Was the front office nice? Did you find the phone number? You know where provider came in? number 17 out of 20, which means there are 16 other interactions that we have to deal with before a patient even gets to us. That's challenging. So just limiting that fact that they get to see me when they walk in the door, we can interact immediately. But it just kind of tells you how important we really aren't when it comes to the business of healthcare. Business is really important, and you've got to stay viable. You got to pay the bills.
Sure.
You've got to generate income. You need to know your expense lines. You know what needs to drive revenue. You need to know how to decrease expenses. And all of those things have nothing to do with how to treat your glute medius or your meniscus or your rotator cuff tear. So those things have to be ingrained. Those have to be automatically conscious that or subconscious that you just know what you're doing because you're focusing so much on the business side of it.
Right. That's a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of competition in that space compared to the traditional? I see.
Not really.
Maybe you can define the different spaces for our listeners real quick.
I'm learning right now
wellness
myself.
And health, it seems to be booming, but some people are like Botox or wellness. It means different things to different people, apparently.
Yeah, finding your niche. So I purchased this business. To go back to the business side, I'm a clinician of 30 years, but I also love this business. I love to buy things. I love to seller finance. I go to all these different real estate schools and all of these different business acquisitions and how to buy things low and no money down and how to have seller finance. So that's what I did with this business. I found a person that was selling a wellness center that was providing wellness activities, not med spa. They're a very big difference, but a wellness in our case. So we do red light therapies, infrared sauna, cryo chamber, hyperbaric chamber, compression therapies, oxygen, physical therapy, massage. That's what we've defined as our wellness and physical therapy space. But when you go onto the big bad internet, wellness means 100 different things. So really fine tuning your scope. The only way you do that is one, through word of mouth, and two, through your Google campaigns and through your Facebook ads and through your creative digital and social marketing, which is a whole nother avenue that we have to learn as providers. And we're terrible at it typically. I'm not good at it. And so I've learned this steep curve of social media. So defining your space has allowed us to land on wellness and physical therapy, which I believe is I'm truly the only person in the West Valley right now that's providing PT and massage in a wellness space. Okay. So to ask competitors, there are 3 cash pay therapists in the West Valley. One is very well established and kind of the gold standard for me. And I sneak in there and ask about my aging grandmother that needs a total hip and try to get as many free tours as I can from this gentleman because he's just really good at it. The other one is an upstart. And then traditional PT, I thought I was competing with them. When you go to do all your marketing and campaigns, we're really not competing with traditional insurance-based healthcare. And I just came to that epiphany in the last month or so that I need to switch my mindset that I am unique, a little bit of a unicorn, and you need to promote that and market that in that way.
And how do you do that? What are the clients looking for? Who's your typical client that goes, oh, Clint's the best fit for me. I really need to go to Oxygen Wellness instead of a traditional model system.
Right. So if you look at the big words that always pop up, shoulder pain, knee pain, back pain, what is oxygen? Those are all your hit marks that you typically would classically see on a website or a search. But what I find is people want communication. They want one-on-one. And on my website, it's still growing and it's changing. But on the website, it has a person that's looking up into the sky like, I have something wrong and I don't even know where to start. Where do I start? What is a red light? What is a therapy? How is this different? And so I think by asking questions and educating people on where to start, it's really about education more than PT and about wellness. So that's what my hit points are, is I'm trying to find those people that are asking questions about where do I start? Well, you start with a healthcare provider that's been around for a while, that understands a bunch of realms, holistic approach that can be a center hub of knowledge and help you coach you through. You need to go see a neurologist. You need to go see your naturopath. You go and see your chiropractor. That's fine. And then come back in here and let me help coach you through some of these things, knowing that I'm not the end all get all and that PT doesn't fix everything. So,
That's
did that
something
answer your question?
Yeah, all sorts of good stuff there. Thank you. So another example personally for me was I used to have neck pain really bad. I'd get all seized up here and I'd pull something and then it would really bad. And I'd go to a chiropractor and massage and all that. And that was largely, I mean, it would help, but for that my particular situation. It wasn't until I went to you and got dry needling, and when I finally they got that stuff broken up and managed to do it. It took several visits and stuff, but that was sort of like a little eye opening to me that. It's funny how different industries, like I know some, I like chiropractors. I mean, sometimes they're more insightful than others. I've been treated like a slab of meat at some places. Crack, 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 flip over, crack, crack, crack. All right, go. You can see the receptionist on the way out. Sure. Or some that are so into it and they want to like, oh, I can cure your bronchitis if I adjust you here. They're really into it and they really think they can do everything with just that modality. But I think you have a lot of techniques at your disposal and a lot of knowledge and a lot of affiliates and partners, which it really allows you to give a holistic setup that I didn't appreciate when I was younger and naive and bulletproof and all that. And I used to think I could fix things myself and everything and struggle.
Google Doc is powerful. Yeah, it's very powerful. So we're blessed to be therapists, especially in the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona, they call us the Wild West, which is not a great thing to be called, but it just means that we have autonomy to do a lot of great things. We've had to fight for the ability to do dry needling against our acupuncture practitioners just to show and show them that we have the knowledge, we have the anatomy, we have the background, we have the physiology. We needed some needle education, so I was on that panel to fight to have the ability to use dry needles, not acupuncture needles. And we use trigger points. We don't use meridians and chi and qua and energy. So it's a modality for us, not so much a scope of practice. But as a therapist, we're so lucky. We're massage therapists. We're personal trainers. We can do manipulation like chiros or osteopaths. We can do a sports medicine exam like an athletic trainer or a base level, entry level provider. Our knowledge base is second to only orthopedics and spine surgeons as far as anatomy and physiology, and that's well documented in all the journals. But if you step down the ego and the pride of being able to fix everything, just understanding the client and that I don't have the one thing that fixes all. If I listen to you, you're going to tell me what's wrong. And my particular approach is just depth. So is it a joint? Is it a bone? Is it a capsule? Is it a ligament? Is it a muscle? Is it a tissue? Is it a skin? Is it an autonomic? So you can just go down a rabbit's hole of different things, but you want to rule out. It's just like your business is just like any other good providers. You want to rule out the really bad, scary stuff, get down to some simple things, explain that to the client so they're not overwhelmed, and give them control of how to fix those things.
Right.
That's our focus.
I wish I would have gone to you first. I've had bursitis before and went and got an injection and then helped me get over that for the inflammation and stuff. But and very good surgeon, a very good orthopedic surgeon. He looked at my hip that was bothering me and was like, well, I could give you a shot, but it's probably not the best modality. And so I'll only do it if you need to before your big trek. And I was like, okay. So then I go see Clint, and Clint's like, oh yeah, I can totally help you. I know what it is. It's this is this, and you can pinpoint it and go, yeah, there's different things we can do to get you sorted. So, yeah, you're not going to do surgery, but some really good surgeons if that's the best fix. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that I'm optimistic for that your practice and your model to be an absolute boon and grow incredibly. What's your goal for the next 5 years, for example?
Yeah, so this is definitely a concept model. It's out of the ordinary. We need to show proof of concept. So we got it to look like we want it to look like, size, square footage, attracting that clientele that we're looking for, finding someone to replace me that's got great knowledge, great brand, great community awareness, and then allow me to step out 80% of it, coach that person, let them grow, let them be the big bad person. And then I want to go back out and open up potentially 2 more in the next 18 to 36 months. Same concept, open it up. They come in and see Oxygen Wellness. They see Clint. We find a local provider. The great thing with this space, we'd love it to be a PT, but the way that it's uniquely designed is it could be a nurse practitioner. It could be a physical therapist. It could be a chiro. It could be a naturopath. it could be anybody that can assess. It could be a master's level athletic trainer, anybody that can assess a simple injury or complex injury and then manage that injury, but also manage a wellness center that has membership models, that has a sales model, that has a small staff. And so I'd love to have 3 to 5 of these in the next 36 to 60 months, scale it up, and then let other great therapists a little bit younger with more energy and passion run them for me.
Okay, excellent. So a little bit more about how you're growing the practice in the first year. You said you were going to stick with the cash pay model. You have different programs and different groups and clients you're working with, right? Can you talk a little bit about those sort of promotions you're doing up front?
Absolutely. So when you first start up, you have all this need to get into the social media and the marketing, and we've got that figured out. You interview groups and there's price points that you need to hit. And so we figured out the social media. We've got the brand look that we're looking for. We've taken pictures. We're posting constantly, but it's really about that one-on-one connection. And I tell you, I still sit here and I send out 50 text messages or emails a week to influential people that I know. And so those are the ones sending back. And I think when we first start, it's like a pyramid at the big base and a little peak at the top. And we're out trying, we're hitting 100 doors and just randomly marketing, hoping to find that one person at the top. Well, the blessing of being in this gig for 30 years in the same space is I know most of the top guys. So now I send a text and say, hey, I'm growing this business. I'm growing this building of education. I need some trickle down effect from you. Get me connected with athletic trainers, athletic directors of schools, principals of schools, directors of running clubs, directors of running groups. I've been in Major League Baseball for a long, long time. So club baseball, high school and college club baseball, anybody 13 and older. And right now we're gaining a lot of traction. I'm in Deer Valley Unified School District here in Peoria. So we have Mountain Ridge High School, Sandra Day O'Connor, Deer Valley High School, Liberty High School, Sunrise Mountain, North Canyon. So we have all of these big schools and they each have a unique strength. And so we're reaching out to each of those strength coaches, athletic trainers, athletic directors, and head coaches. And we're offering booster plans like our cryo chamber, for instance. It can fit 4 people. It's fantastic for inflammation and pain. And so we can bring that price point down for a booster. They come and purchase some of these for the upcoming football season for 7-on-7 tournaments in the summer. And the great thing with the booster is that you can kind of eliminate the coach, which you don't always want in medical practice. You want to manage the athletic trainer and the team doc. And then the boosters are going to care for the whole program. So if you get a coach, you're going to get the top 5 kids. With the booster program, you're going to get the freshmen, the JV, and the varsity. And so you're going to get 120 kids versus the top 4 or 5 kids. So from a business cycle, you want to meet this person. And then from your treatment cycle, you're still going to see, mostly high-end athletes that are coming out of these different levels.
Okay. So you can do, I guess that's called recovery. Right.
Yeah, we call it premium recovery. Yeah. So think of Friday night football and they're all banged up. And so they come in on Saturday morning for a recovery session. They're going to go get film. They're going to do film on Saturday morning with their coach squad. They're going to release them at 10 o'clock. They pop in and do some compression boots, and then they jump in the cryo chamber, and then they're done by noon. They can go to lunch. So track and field, they love hyperbaric before their track meets. So a lot of the track and field groups, they love to do hyperbaric on Friday and oxygenate, super oxygenate, and then go run on Saturday. So we've got those.
How much of your clientele is not athletic based, but just general wellness or maybe even beauty or health stuff? Because there's advantages for, skin, oxygen, hyperbaric, the red light, all that stuff. Is it a mix?
It is a mix. Right now, it's actually 50-50. So our membership model has a bunch of our age population is 29 to 69, 60% women, 40% men, usually that 39 to 59, and then there's a demographic that fits. But the people that come and do our core membership services, the red light therapies, the infrared sauna, the cryo chamber, the compression, that's kind of your general population, workers, weekend warriors. And then the other part, the physical therapy and sports medicine, is really where I'm managing post-ops and high-level athletes. But it's nice because then we can use these new innovative modalities along with the sports medicine. And so that's truly our mission, is to blend traditional physical therapy with innovative new regenerative biohacking modalities. So the old school ACE wrap is now a Normatec compression sleeve. The old school hot pack is now an infrared sauna or a red light. The old school ice pack is now minus 166 degree cryo chamber. And the great part is you have a sports medicine provider that's helping you manage all that, versus, no disrespect, but maybe another business in the area that has a 19-year-old touring you through the facility and then selling you a membership. You've got a provider here that's understanding your injury and what we're actually treating: inflammation, pain, dysfunction, stiffness. That's the difference.
And a customized, detailed regimen to follow with a
one-on-one directed
plan.
care. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's not to say that you don't still use all that other stuff too, an ice pack or a hot pad or something.
Yeah,
but
we still use them all.
It's that plus all the next level new stuff, which is incredible.
I feel like a pioneer that's trying to just educate people on this new era of, it's a biohacking process, this regenerative medicine. It's a better word. I like regenerative medicine, modern day modalities. But you get it with Brecca and Joe Rogan and all these guys. They're madly passionate about these things, and so they're a great voice for this. Right. And then you bring in PhDs and DPTs and MDs and DOs that all understand it a little bit better. Those are the ones you really got to sell, because they have the science background and everything needs to be super science based. But we're still an art based on science. So there's lots of physiology, lots of science in these things, but it's the art of educating and the art of application that's we're really working on.
Okay. Excellent. And that's it's something about healthcare, and particularly PT. This is because a lot of it's, from my experience, I don't know if this is really what your clients are like, but being able to function in the day to day, right, and not having as much pain or whatever people may have and go through is a huge industry, right? It's life is pain, and figuring out.
And people still want to be touched with your hands to evaluate your knee and to manipulate your shoulder. They still want that one-on-one touch, and they want time to educate. That's what I think we're missing in healthcare, is that 2 and 5 minute timeline, and it's typically broken up amongst the team. I just think it's so valuable and it's so missing, and I really hope to fill that void and then grow it. And I'd love to treat 1 million people a year. We can't do it, but there's a need. There's a big need out there.
Right. There's a study. That's a good point. I can't remember what it was. It was something. It was showing the different levels of improvement just by having time, just by having touch, just by placebo effect. All these different things that clearly have a huge impact, right? And it's being optimistic, right? I think that the numbers were staggering. It was like pessimists versus optimists. They have like a 20% different lifespan and all these other and health things and all the ways they can anyway. So
feeling heard, it works in a marriage, it works in a relationship, it works at school, and it works in healthcare.
Right. Amen. All right, Clint, as we wrap things up here, I have a reflection question for you. What do you wish you knew sooner about building wealth and success early in your career?
Oh man, if you are 80% there, jump. Okay. I am the consummate victim of perfection is the antagonist of being good, right? Okay. Or some derivative of that.
Paralysis analysis. That's me.
Oh my gosh, that is so me. And so I'll sit on something for a month before I bite. And the 30-day decision wasn't any different than the day 2 decision. And that would be the number one thing for me.
Okay, that's a great answer. Good one. Yeah. Thanks, Clint. All right. If people want to connect with you or learn more about Oxygen Wellness, what should they do?
Absolutely. So our website is oxygenaz.com. That's our website. And we can be found on Instagram at Oxygen Wellness AZ. And we also have a YouTube channel, which is Oxygen Wellness _physical therapy. And you can always call us at 602-888-7992. Excellent. And at that point, I can give you a personal cell phone. I'm not afraid to do that.
Okay, excellent. That's very cool, Clint. So real quick on the YouTube channel. I mean, you are so good. You're just a wealth of knowledge. What's sort of your goal with that? I imagine you're going to have all sorts of very useful tidbits for people. Do you have a particular goal or content that you're going to focus on?
Yeah, I have 2 audience, I believe. I think I have one audience that is a patient-driven audience that's looking for this type of practice, regenerative biohacking, educational piece with physical therapy. So that's one line.
Okay. Right.
And then there's a second one, an audience of therapists or other providers that are trying to move out of that corporate structure and find a space for them where they can be a little more autonomous and then get into this healthcare field. So I have one YouTube video, and it was fairly well viewed, I guess, but there's just so many things. If you look at my to-do list every day, it hasn't been a priority, but every time I do one of these, my office manager's like, it's so good. We just need to do a 30-minute interview and do 12 short forms and just piece them out. But as an executive, you're like, I want to do it all. I can't do it all. I need somebody else to do it all. So I'm really thankful that you're allowing this to happen. And then I can also take some of these things and we can short form it a little bit. And it's really going to be a huge catalyst for our YouTube station. So thanks for doing all the work, Tim Fergstad. Appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad to be a catalyst for all that. Excellent. All right. Thanks. Well, thank you everybody for watching and listening. Thank you very much, Clint Borman, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your insights into business and healthcare here in Phoenix.
Well, thank you very much. It's been fun watching. I don't know what number I'm in, but you're like 65, 66, 70 of these things. So you're a pro and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody's watching.
I'm watching them.
All right. Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.